Hey guys, coming at you today in this midweek upload video to talk to you all about my keto pizza crust and the things I've learned and some time and money saving tips. So let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, thanks for joining me. My name's Alycia. I'm a pastry chef with a sweet tooth, and now I own a keto gluten-free bakery. And I'm here to show you all the tips and tricks I've learned while owning that bakery to bring you the best keto recipes possible. So if you enjoy my content, please hit the subscribe button down there, give the video a thumbs up, leave me a comment, and share with all your friends and family. It all helps my channel, my bakery grow and bring you new videos every Saturday and some bonus videos. Today, a video all about my keto pizza dough. And I'm going to take you through kind of what I did to put this up for sale on my website. Because when you want to sell something, there's a lot of factors in there. And one of them is money and how long it takes you to prep whatever you're selling. So this is basically what I did to get it to the price I wanted to sell it to you for, and the fastest way to make a bunch of pizza crusts in order to sell them. So let's get started saving some time and money. So with keto baking, you have a lot more obstacles than you would with regular recipes. So the first thing I started out with was looking at my cost of the actual pizza crust and looking at the ingredients, the labels, and all that stuff to see where, if anywhere, I could cut costs. And one of the major ones was this syrup that I use in my pizza dough. First of all, I looked at the ingredients, which I don't know if they said this on Amazon because I feel like I wouldn't have gotten it because I always look at ingredients when I order things. And this one says modified food starch. And I did not want that on my nutrition label. It wasn't even in my Recipal app because if it's not like a regular ingredient, you have to put it in yourself manually. And for one, I didn't like the ingredients. Two, it cost way more than just allulose. I started out with trying to use powdered allulose for the syrup, and that really didn't work because having the allulose liquid like this gives a chewier texture than just using powdered allulose. Using powdered does give you a little bit more moisture and helps it brown a little bit, but it doesn't give that little bit of chew that is the reason why I picked using the syrup in the pizza crust. I had to figure out an allulose syrup and one that was foolproof and worked in the dough and I could keep on my counter and all the things. So that's where we're going to start here with making an allulose syrup. Now this is trickier than it seems because when allulose is hot, it's really liquidy, and then as soon as it cools down, it gets thicker. So I literally had to make batches, wait for it to get thick, and then see how much water to add and all that stuff. So like I was testing for weeks on how to make the best allulose syrup and how not to have it crystallize. This allulose has been on my counter for a couple of weeks and it was fine. We're gonna start with 2 cups of allulose in our pot. Should be 320 grams. That was a little bit shy. I just say to weigh it. Weighing is a time-saving trick. You don't think it is and you think it's fiddly and all that stuff, but it really does save you time in the kitchen and much more accurate and makes things come out correctly most times. With our keto stuff, it's a little bit more tricky because ingredients can be different from brand to brand, but you have better luck if you're gonna weigh everything. To that, I'm adding 2 ounces of water, so 56 grams. And you're just cooking this on medium-low until it's all dissolved and it's 240 degrees, which basically it'll be just when it's all dissolved. Let me get all that allulose moist in there and just let it melt low and slow. If you see it boiling around the edges, you might want to turn it down a little bit because you do not want it cooking above 240 because when it does, it gets even thicker and then you won't have the right viscosity of syrup. You can probably alter that by just adding a little bit more water, but I'm not sure if it'll work the exact same as I did a lot of testing with my syrup in my dough to make sure it gave me that chewy texture I wanted. Well, let's go and we're gonna get 4 ounces of water. As you can see it bubbling around the edges, give it a stir. And I'm sure there are other ways to do this. This is just the quickest and easiest way. I know there's ways with boiling allulose with a bunch of water and, you know, boiling it for a long time and making a syrup. This was just the easiest and fastest way for me to do it. We're still pretty low, so we're doing good. It is boiling around the edges though, so I'm gonna turn it down a little bit more still. And then besides the 4 ounces of water is I'm adding 1/8 of a teaspoon of citric acid. And that just keeps it from recrystallizing on you. And now that it's mostly dissolved, I'm gonna turn it up a little bit. And we'll hopefully get to 240 and we can add the rest of our stuff. Turn the heat to just below medium. I'm reading 230 in some places. Okay, I'm reading 240 in some. It's getting there. You want it consistently, pretty much. Yeah, there you go. Over 240. It looks so liquidy, but it gets thick. It gets so thick that we got to add more water. So add in your citric acid, add in your extra 4 ounces of water, and then just let that cool. I'll pour it into my glass measuring cup. Once it cools down, I'll put it into a container. You're good to go. This is twice the money as Duralife Allulose to make your own. And I don't understand, this one does say water is the first ingredient, but a lot of the allulose syrups on Amazon just say ingredients, allulose syrup, but they're selling you mostly water. So it's kind of crazy that it's twice the price. It's much cheaper to make your own syrup. This is one already done, already at room temperature, and it's just like a viscous syrup. This is the perfect substitute for my keto pizza crust to give it a little bit of chew, the brownness you want, and the softness of the crust. It is so good. And half the money as buying an allulose syrup. There is your first money saving, and make a big batch of that, and it's time saving too. So you just have to not worry about having this specific one on hand or a maple flavored one, whatever you can find. You could probably make it flavored too. I mean, this has natural and artificial flavors in it. Yep. So if you have a molasses flavoring you want to add, I wouldn't add a ton. I would add and taste as you go. You can also do that. You can also use this to flavor your coffees and stuff. I think in the new year, I'm gonna start making some coffee drinks that I miss from back in the day. So that is the first money saving tip. The second was in my original, I did half heavy cream, half water. I have been using my low carb So Delicious coconut milk, and I think it tastes just as good. I don't think the extra fat, you know, really makes a difference, especially because we're putting butter in it too. So that's another money saving, because the So Delicious coconut milk is about $3.40 for 2 quarts, where heavy cream where I'm at is anywhere from $5 to $7 a quart. So that's a lot of money. So I swapped those out and I think it tastes just as good. Believe me, I ate a lot of pizza tests over the last month or so trying to figure out the best crust and the most time saving and all that stuff. So that's your second money saving tip. Now on to the hard part of the recipe, which is the flour mix. And not even just the flour mix, our ingredients. Because if you saw my pumpkin twist video, you saw that I had Anthony's, a new bag opened, and it was a different color. And it's definitely a different strength than the previous one I had, which was working great for my pizza crust. But then I was trying to do swaps and stuff, and using this one, my recipes weren't coming out right. And I thought it was the swaps I was doing, but really it was the xanthan gum. So this took a ton of testing. But if you have one specific bag of xanthan gum, I would do it at that point when you get a new bag. I made up a keto flour mix for specifically just my pizza crust. Since Anthony's is more expensive than a lot of other brands, I went and bought the cheapest brand of xanthan gum I could find, and then I figured out the recipe from there. So this is micro ingredients. Before I made a big batch of the flour mix, I tested until I got the right texture I wanted for a pizza crust using this xanthan gum. It is still a little bit stronger than the previous Anthony's that worked in my recipe. So I had to mess with the other flour ingredients. So the whey protein, the bamboo fiber, and the gelatin. I tested on 2 crust batches to figure out the ratio to use this xanthan gum in my mix. And once I did that, I made a big 20 crust batch of my flour mix. And this is my second batch already. And I learned some things because I went through that first bucket of crust mix. Perfect. It all worked perfectly fine. 20 crusts I made with that batch. I made up a second batch, and I must not have mixed it enough because the first 6 crust batch I did, I had to throw away, which kills me because it costs me so much money and ingredients to make those, and then I had to throw them in the garbage. But the first bucket I did, I put it in my big 20-quart Hobart mixer, and I didn't think it really mixed it up that well, so that's why the second time I did it by hand in like a whisk in the big bowl. Like, I didn't put it on the actual mixer, and I thought I did a good job mixing it, but I didn't. So that first batch of pizza crust must have had too much xanthan gum in it because it was gloopy but not stiff. It was like sticky and a pain to work with. So you'll have a much easier time because you're going to be making smaller batches, I'm sure. I'm sure you're not going to make this big a batch of flour mix, but tip there, mix up your flour mix really well. I would say probably the best way to do it at home would be to do maybe an 8 crust batch, which my video was 2 crusts, so that would be doing it times 4. Putting it in a Ziploc baggie and shaking the heck out of it. I have here on the top for 2 crusts, it's 125 grams, a cup and a third approximately. And then 4 crusts is 250 grams, 2 2/3 cup, and then 6 is that. And I tested all this and put it on here so I knew. But before you do that, I would test single batches with all the same ingredients that you have on hand until it comes out exactly how you want it, and then double, triple, quadruple it, whatever you want to do, and put it in the Ziploc bags. So when I'm using this xanthan gum, I ended up minusing some xanthan gum from the recipe. I minused some gelatin, and I minused a little bit of each flour, because this is just a little bit stronger than the previous xanthan gum I was using. I do need to make up another batch of this. I think I'm just gonna do it in this container. I'm not gonna make as big of a batch, I don't think. Even though I did go through that first 20 crusts within like 1 week, something like that. So the nice thing about my Recipal app, which I do pay monthly for, and it just went up, I think it's like $100 a month now. It used to be like $80. Frustrating, but that's how I get all my nutrition labels and everything. So it is what it is, but I think I'm gonna do a 12 crust batch. I went from 44 grams of gelatin down to 40 for a 4 crust batch. So am I gonna be able to do this all in my head? Probably not. So I gotta times everything by 3. So 120. I should probably get this on my Recipal app so that I don't mess up anything. Hold please. Okay, I have the recipe in front of me. So 40, 80, 120 of gelatin. Okay, so I went from 9 grams of xanthan gum down to 8 grams of xanthan gum per 2 crust batch. So for 4 crusts, it's 16. For 12, it's 48. Right? 16, 32, 48. Another thing is I don't add the salt to this mix because I want to make sure every batch has the same amount of salt, and salt is usually bigger granules and heavier, so I add the salt to each mix that I do. I've learned that you can make the dough into your crust, proof them, top them with pizza toppings, and freeze them, and you can bake them the same time and temperature from frozen to get a delicious pizza. Times and stuff will vary depending on your ovens. So for batch, I minus the bamboo fiber 6 grams. So it's not a lot. It's just that little bit that makes it too stiff of a dough, because you really want a nice, soft, pliable dough. And that just makes sure it's not dry and kind of breaking apart on you when you're trying to stretch it out. I try not to stray too much from ingredients. So like when I bought Zimmerman bamboo fiber, that's what I stuck with. I did use Modern Mountain, but it's a finely ground bamboo fiber. It was a little bit different in my recipes. So I stuck with Zimmerman brand for the longest time. But Micro Ingredients is a little bit cheaper, and it seems to have been working the same as the Zimmerman brand. So doing this times 3, it's 110 grams, so 330. Make sure you don't have any of these little things they put in there, because that'll throw off your count. And if you don't see it, you know, while you're dumping your ingredients, that happened the other day with me. 330, probably cover up, remove my allulose, because bamboo fiber is so powdery, crazy cloudy, and it gets white powder all over everything. The nice thing about doing a big batch is that if you're off 1 gram, it's not going to be like detrimental to the mix, because it's so many mixes that 1 gram is not going to mess up one of 12 crusts you're making, you know. I only minus the unflavored whey protein a couple of grams from a 2 crust batch, so. But I don't think I'm going to be able to do this math in my head. 67, 76. I have a little bit of dyslexia too, so it's hard to do all these numbers all the time for me. I was never diagnosed, but it happens sometimes. Like I just set it for this. So 76 times 3 is 228. The last thing is the only thing we have to sift, which is the baking powder. Tablespoon, I would either get between 10 and 12 grams. I just made it 10, so 30 grams. There you go. I'm gonna give it a whisk first, and then I'm gonna put the lid on and shake it up. So if you made a new batch, I would definitely test only doing a 2 crust batch your first time out the gate to make sure it is nice and mixed and your dough comes out correct. Make sure it's on real good. You can also throw it in your mixer. It might fit in my KitchenAid, but this isn't the best thing to mix in, for sure. Like I said, Ziploc would probably be the best bet. Get all the way down to the bottom. See, I can still see, it looks like gelatin. So make sure you're really mixed up. Make sure you don't see any different colors in there. It's kind of hard because all our stuff is so white to actually tell that it's all nice and mixed. And give one more shake. You see the dust cloud. Then I have to wipe everything down. Okay, I don't see any differentiation between flours. So I think we're good. Okay, you will see me use this on Saturday's recipe video. So you'll see then if it worked, if I mixed it enough. I know it works for a fact because it definitely worked for the first 20 pizza crusts I did. It's just the fact that you need to really mix it thoroughly in order to get it to work right. I'm trying to think if there's any other tips that I know. Obviously you can make proof and bake the crust. I bake it at the same temperature for about 12, 13 minutes until it's just getting golden brown, and then you can freeze them and bake them from frozen. That's how I sell my pizza crusts on my website. You can also make tons of different things with this. It's basically a bread dough. So on Saturday's video, you'll see me making a fun appetizer with it. You can definitely just put it on a pan and put like seasoning and oil on it. You do want it pretty thin because it puffs up. You think there's not a lot of dough there, but as it proofs and bakes, it becomes a real thick dough. But you can make like a focaccia bread, or you can even do a real thin like flatbread pizza kind of thing. Lots of different things you can do with it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Let me know what you plan to make with this delicious pizza dough recipe. And if you have any other tips or tricks, if you've been making my pizza dough recipe, let me know down in the comments below. Don't forget to check out my Amazon shop page. The link will be down in the description box below. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. As always, I'll be back with many more keto, low carb, healthy meals, desserts, and snack recipes. And some tips and tricks videos. Bye guys. Happy keto baking and pizza making.